It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. And now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Showtime! Geno Jones, showtime. You can see the sign behind me. All right, here we go live, Monday through Friday. New start time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 Chicago, 4:30 on the West Coast. The Geno Jones Show has a new sponsor, Kojo LLC, C-O-J-O LLC, Courtney Johnson. You will see her this Thursday. Courtney's Corner returns. Yes, it does. It's a new segment on the show, twice a month. She's a real estate expert, and she is a commercial insurance expert. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, get some advice on what you need to do to buy or sell a home, or if you have a business and your business needs insurance, Kojo, COJOLLC.com. So you can check her out. If you got any questions, anything else, buying, selling a home, like I said, need business insurance, commercial insurance, COJOLLC.com. Please tell everybody to subscribe to my channel. Some about, only 90 new subscribers away from becoming a YouTube partner. That means YouTube will monetize this channel and my media company, I believe, every month, YouTube. If you cross that threshold of 1,000 or more subscribers, the more subscribers you get, then the more they monetize. So we got to support Black-owned media. We got to support all of our Black-owned institutions, especially Black-owned media. So thank you in advance for supporting the Geno Jones Show. You can support the show financially, be a sponsor or advertise, or you can Zelle Geno Jones Show at Gmail. Use my email address if you want to be a sponsor. You can Cash App $Dad G Jones, all one word, $Dad G Jones. All right, I got a guest coming up. He is our legal expert, a legal and political expert back in Chicago, Brother Sean Mitchell. You'll see him on camera in just a few minutes. So let me kick off the show, get right into this monologue. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, if anybody tells us, the Black community here in America, if anybody's got to say the Black folks they don't stick together and they don't have any power, that's bullshit. And if you don't believe me, ask the former CEO of Target. Listen, with all the madness going on, Orange Hitler in full dictator mode, and I said this last week, is one way that you can get the attention of people with money and power. Even the racists, white nationalists, new Ku Klux Klan, apartheid, Nazi mentality, that whole racist white nationalist and white Christian nationalist ideology, which is this racist remix version of white evangel. Well, I guess they call it white Christian nationalism, or they call it Christian nationalism. The bottom line, you can get anybody's attention, but people with money and power, the quickest way to get their attention, like I say, dig in them pockets. Like I said, ask the former CEO of Target, who is, yes, the former. In January, he was the CEO. Today, he is the former CEO. Target, the company, since January, has lost $12 billion in value. That Target today, that company, is worth $12 billion with a B, not million, $12 billion less today than it was in January. And that was because of the Black folks that boycotted. That was us, everybody. That was us, y'all. We were spending $12 million a day. Black Americans were spending $12 million a day in Target. But that wasn't good enough. And it was just $2 billion that cost Target $12 billion. It cost that company to lose $12 billion in value over a $2 billion promise they made right after the whole George Floyd incident, Black Lives Matter movement, and right around that time, They pledged $2 billion to support like black-owned businesses and DEI initiatives. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. And then after November, Orange Hitler, January, all of a sudden Target said, oh no, well, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna pull that money for those DEI programs. We're gonna pull that money back because then we gotta go anti-DEI. And black folks said, well, we're gonna anti-DEI our money. And that's what we're gonna have to do with everybody. Because with old boy sending the National Guard, the DC is easier, and I explain that to you because DC is a district, it's not a state, and you don't have to worry about governors suing you. And according to the Constitution, that the president of the United States, actually, he does have some control of the National Guard for the District of Columbia. It's not like that. Every state, the governor is the commander-in-chief of the National Guard in that particular state that the governor heads. So it's going to be a lot. And shout out to Governor J.B. Pritzker, was on TV today. He was like, listen, we're not going to do this. I'm not going to go into the whole speech, but his energy was that we are not going to do this. Okay, I'm going to fight you in the courts. We're going to be smart. We're going to protest peacefully because we know that you want the violence, you want the chaos, so you can try to invoke the Insurrection Act to save your ass from the midterms, because you know that you and the MAGA cult are going to be your ass is going to be handed to you in the midterms. So we are not stupid like you are. We got it figured out, but it's not. And shout out to Governor Westmore, who said, nope, we're not playing them games. I'm the commander-in-chief. So if you want to come to D.C., as he said, Donald Trump, come to D.C. and walk the streets with me. If you want to talk about crime, my city, crime has dropped in that state, in Baltimore, Maryland, and shout out to their mayor. The brother's name escapes me. I think Sean probably knows his name. I can't think of it. I think his name was Brandon too. And shout out to Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago. Big shout out to Governor Gavin Newsom, because he is even pettier than Orange Hitler in a good way. Because on social media, he is making Donald Trump's mind explode. But once again, let me bring it back to the start of this monologue, because there's a lot of apprehension and fear and anxiety. Just understand that we as black Americans, and Americans that are not on that racist MAGA bullshit of all backgrounds, white Americans who have a sense of humanity, and Hispanic brothers and sisters, and Asian American brothers and sisters, Native American, that believe in humanity and not inhumanity, that believe in compassion and empathy and not cruelty and dictatorship. But black folks, I'm talking to black America, we got the power. And the way to get people's attention with money and power, even a racist, you dig in them pockets deep enough, ask Elon Musk. Elon Musk has been so quiet. He's been quieter than a rat pissing on cotton. He was on TV you haven't seen or heard a peep from Elon Musk. I don't know, he's got a rocket that's supposed to take off. Will it take off, or will it blow up and explode on the launching pad, or will it wait till it gets in midair to blow up again? Tesla has lost billions of dollars in value. In Europe, forget it. The value of Teslas and that stock in Europe has tanked. In America, it has tanked. Tesla's value, he's lost at least 50% of the value. So Tesla the value of that company is minimum 50% less today than it was back in January. Once again, the way to get people's attention with money and power is to dig in them pockets. And we ain't started to dig in them pockets like we're going to do, because I've already talked about it. I'm going to go into more detail. We're going to have a real holiday blackout for real. So whatever Christmas shopping y'all need to do it now. Catch a sale. But from Thanksgiving to New Year's Day, we're going to, in terms of spending money, we're going to shut this shit down. Since you were so anti-DEI, which means that you want to get rid of everything black. You want to try to get rid of black history and black people. And we don't want to be bothered with you. Got you. So we're going to be down with anti-DEI. anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion. But we're going to remix that shit. We're going to show you how to really be anti-DEI, because we're going to anti-DEI. We're going to anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion, our money and our talent. That's another conversation. We got to talk to some folks in the NFL and the NBA and college football and college basketball. So the college playoffs, the national championship and the NFL and the NBA, March Madness, we're going to have a conversation. Men and women's, Coach Staley, we're going to have a conversation. Because if you get too crazy, Orange Hitler and your administration, y'all get too far out with the bullshit, okay. Bring that money home. Remember Big Mama in what was that, Soul Food, the movie? She said, you don't have a lot of power when your fingers like this. She said, but if you bring those fingers together and form a fist, unity, there's a lot of power in that. Way to get people's attention, even a racist, Nazi, even the most hateful, racist, Nazi, fascist, apartheid, neo-Nazi, Klan-minded, bigot, misogynist, and sexist. You dig in them pockets deep enough, you'll be surprised. Oh, they'll still be racist. And they'll still be racist and fascists and Nazis and apartheid mentality and sexist and misogynist, but they'll slow that shit down if you dig in them pockets deep enough. Oh, they'll change course. Talk to the folks at Target. Ask them about it. If you don't believe me, the numbers don't lie. All right, let me bring on my brother, our legal expert, legal and political expert, professor, just a brilliant brother, great legal mind, ladies and gentlemen. Got his hat. The D stands for something. He'll tell me in a minute. Yeah. Shout out to the one, the only Professor Sean Mitchell. What up, family?
What's happening, family? So let's start with the hat. This is a dad gang hat. I'm not advertising other companies on your show, but I will say, because I love baseball hats, I don't think I've been on this show without a hat on. Some of you that know me from Charleston, and before I turned mid-40s, I'm not gonna say how many years ago, I had locks. I had locks down my back.
It was just 6 months ago. I'm a dry snitch. It was just 6 months ago.
Yeah. It was 6 months ago. Anyway, I had locks, but I started getting back into baseball hats because I grew up as a baseball hat kid, playing baseball and growing up in Chicago. Most of the time, you have a hat on your head because even like now in August, while everybody else is sweating down south, it is 71 brisk degrees in Chicago. So you tend to put a hat on your head, especially when age catches up with you and your hair leaves with that age. So this is a dad gang hat. They're online. I'm not going to say their website, but they have some dope hats, and they're for dads that take care of their kids and love being a dad.
Well, let me ask you something real quick, Sean. Is that a black-owned company?
I don't know, but what I do like about it, some black people got heavy influence. Because I mean, look at this. I mean, so brothers come up.
We shout them out.
Yeah,
we all about
Dad Gang.
Dad
Gang. Dad Gang is a cool company, so you can Google it. They have some dope hats every day. They blow up my phone with different hats. So people like me, I got like about 10 of them. My kids bought them for me a couple of years ago for Father's Day, and so they know I like hats, so I've been collecting. So there's the Dad Gang. And then I got to shout out one of the podcasting gurus besides Geno Jones, but I know Geno Jones aspires to be like this brother Roland Parks. So Roland, I normally don't wear Alpha gear, but Roland, I was watching Roland over the weekend going off about Roland Martin. He wears Alpha gear all the time on this podcast. So shout out to him and the great work that you're doing, Geno. So yeah.
Boy, let me shout out Roland. Listen, I've been admiring his work. I don't aspire to be Roland. I'm just doing because nobody can beat me being Geno.
No question.
And Roland is in his lane, doing his thing. I encourage all of us to be the best version of ourselves, because that's the one thing that nobody beats you doing It's being the best version of you.
And I definitely know because you have a multi-platform talent, multi genre talent from being one of the dopest on-air personalities for urban radio, now doing the podcast. But if the people don't know, Gino is a highly decorated comedian. That's how I actually outside of meeting him through radio, but one of the first things Geno did when he came to Charleston was he threw a comedy show. And finding out the brother from Chicago, and what people don't understand is when you're from Chicago, even when you're not a comedian, you're a fucking comedian because you see
That's
some
true.
crazy, you see some
Well,
crazy
we
shit.
got a
So
rich legacy. I mean,
yeah.
from Dick Gregory, who wasn't born in Chicago, but he lived in Chicago for a long time. Even
Yeah,
Red Fox was in Chicago, even though he's from St.
yeah.
Louis. But I mean, just from
Richard Pryor's from Peoria.
Peoria. But Robin
Yeah,
Harris,
it's
Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac.
I mean, there's
Yeah,
so many. Deion Cole, my man.
yeah,
Damon
Deion
Williams.
Cole. Yeah,
Adele
Damon Williams
Davis.
is my guy. I
Yeah.
actually shout out Damon because my wife has followed Damon for so long, and when we first got together, one of the first things we did was go to a Damon Williams concert. And let me say this. Uh, you and him remind me of each other because you're so down to earth. I mean, here you are, just you guys are like, I don't know. People don't understand, like, growing up, especially when you go to a black high school, some of the things that like make you tough against bullies is being able to be a wise ass or crack jokes and stuff. People will back up off you. A quick side note before we get into politics, I can remember being on, and I'm a suburban kid, so back in the day, it was the RTA. And we would get on the RTA bus going to high school because we didn't have school buses at the time. See, people in the southern states, y'all got it easy. See, when I was going to high school, I had to catch public transportation to high school or
Yes,
walk.
we did.
Or,
Yes, we did.
right. And so you get on the bus, and a whole bunch of us get on the bus, and they just start cracking jokes. And ain't nobody off limits, from passengers that's just riding, they grown folks, to the bus driver, to everybody on the bus. And so I just remember one of the reasons why I knew I would be successful when I did radio, and being in radio and kind of being able to speak in public. Even when I go to court, sometimes I'll crack a joke and the judge will laugh and be like, "Stay on task, brother." Um, I've always just been silly because I wasn't never like a person that was going to fight. And so when you get on the bus with a bunch of gangbangers and stuff, you either better be funny or you better be Mike Tyson Jr. or you better be the nerdy kid. The great thing about it, I was 2 out of 3, the nerdy kid, and I was funny. I was definitely not no Mike Tyson Jr. Let me say I was capable of being Carl Lewis because I would run and less cornered. And so, I mean, with all that being said, yeah, it's a rich legacy of of um, of social observers. That's what we need to
Yes,
call comedians.
that's a great way to phrase it. That's
Social
what comedians are. You're right.
observers.
Yeah.
And there's a rich legacy in Chicago of great social observers. You being one and taking that down to the dirty, dirty South. Like I said, as a person that's a little bit younger than you in radio, I've often admired how your delivery style on the radio and in the podcast is just like I'm talking to my cousins or some cats at the bar in the barber shop. Not pretentious, like, "Hey, I'm Geno Jones." It's just like, "Hey, I'm Geno. What's up, y'all?" And I've always appreciated that. So
Thank you, brother.
yes, I know they didn't want to hear all our background, but
No,
they
no,
know when we
no.
get
Hey,
together,
listen,
it's like a barber talk
they'll be all right.
conversation.
Hey, family, listen, it's my show. Okay, they see the name on the back. All right, this colonizers don't own this. This is Geno, the Geno Jones Show. It's Geno Media. You mentioned radio. I gotta shout out somebody real quick. I gotta shout out B.J. Murphy, who actually worked in Chicago in the mid '90s. He used to come on late nights on V103. He is a North Carolina native. Then he went back home to Charlotte, North Carolina. He grew up in a small, I think he said Boone, but I think it was close enough to where he could pick up Charlotte radio stations.
Okay.
BJ was successful doing a morning show for around a decade, and so there's a National Black Radio Hall of Fame, and they have different chapters. There's a chapter in Chicago. There's a chapter in Atlanta. There's a chapter in St.
Mm-hmm.
Louis. There's a chapter in
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, North
Mm-hmm.
Carolina, and they
Mm-hmm.
are so the Charlotte chapter is trying to grow its chapter and make it a chapter for the entire Carolinas, North and
Mm.
so instead of the Charlotte chapter, it's going to be the Carolinas chapter, including North and
Nice.
South, because you got a lot of cities. I mean, just Charleston, South Carolina, Columbia. You got Greenville. You
Mm-hmm.
got Florence. You got
Mm-hmm.
Sumter.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte is the
Uh,
main city, but in
yeah.
North Carolina, you got Raleigh, Durham,
Yeah.
Greensboro, places
Some
like
of the
that.
best black radio in the country. Let me say this. Back when I was in college in the early 90s and studying communications, especially a media broadcast, one of the places that, as a fresh out of college intern, new radio personality that you really wanted to break your teeth in, there was actually three places roughly, and they're all in the South. Because in order to get on northern stations like Philly, Chicago, Detroit, you're gonna have to come with something. Now it's different in the modern era for various reasons, which I'm not going to
Yeah.
discuss. But back in the day, you had to go cut your teeth in the Columbias, the Charleston. Charleston has a great, rich radio history of radio personalities coming there, being there for 2 or 3 years, and then going on to all over the country being outstanding, popular. Some of them are national syndicated stars. Charlemagne the God. Let's not
Who's
forget
from this
Wendy
area? Monk's
Williams,
Corner.
who's,
Yeah.
who's from Monk's
Who
Corner. He was
started
my
out? Yeah,
intern.
yeah.
He was my intern when I worked at
Oh, that's right.
Hot
I forgot
in
about that.
Charleston. Right,
Wow.
he forgets about it too. I wish the brother, I wish the brother would slip me a money order. I could really use it. But I'm saying all that to say that we have outstanding radio, that black radio personalities were able to develop their talents in places like Charleston, South Carolina, Monroe, Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana cannot be forgotten. Places like Little Rock and Memphis. You worked in Memphis.
Yeah, before I came here,
And
I was in
yeah,
Memphis.
yeah, right. Nashville, Birmingham, Alabama, Huntsville, WEUP in Huntsville
Yeah,
was one of the hottest stations back in
yeah,
the 90s.
yep.
And so
Mobile,
it's
Alabama.
unfortunate, yeah, Mobile. It's unfortunate that the corporate takeover, and let me say this, because thou shalt not speak ill about Democrats, but Bill Clinton signed off on the FCC rule
Yeah, he did.
that
Facts.
stop. It used to be a rule, everybody. Let me give you a little communications class education that I give to my students. There used to be a rule that no entity could own more than 12 media outlets. So you could only own 12 radio stations in a market or in an MSA. I have to use the
Right.
terminology. MSA is bigger than just Chicago. It's Chicago and all the surrounding areas, which cut up into Wisconsin and Indiana, large swaths of area where you have a whole bunch of radio stations, television stations, newspapers. The FCC had a rule where it was called 12, 12, 12, meaning that no one entity could own more than 12 properties within an MSA, compared to today, where people like, no disrespect to iHeart, but they're a corporation, or Sinclair, can own the entire market.
Right. Well,
Now, why is that?
let's
Why is
just
that a bad rule for the consumer?
right. But hold on.
It allows one
Let me just
entity to
rewind real
control
quick
the
though, Sean.
message.
Let me rewind real
Yeah.
quick because I want to take it back even a step before the 12 plus 12 rule.
Mm-hmm.
There, for decades, you could own one AM, one,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
one FM, the most,
Mm-hmm.
especially in a major market. So that was,
Mm-hmm.
and then something called duopoly came in,
Mm-hmm. That's Ronald Reagan
where you could do
and
two.
Bush won.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Ronald
then
Reagan changed that.
after, like you said, Bill Clinton basically erased all of that and
Mm-hmm.
screwed it up.
Allowed.
Yes, that
And
was it.
so what has that done? That created the Rush Limbaughs. That created uh, the current system where we've now moved to podcasts, which these whole companies are involved in podcasts. They're involved in media, in cable news. They're involved in all the entities that supply us our entertainment. Let me tell you a little secret. Way back when, before the internet existed, you had radio stations because I worked at one in Monroe, Louisiana. When the internet first comes out, the dial-up, that that sound, radio stations provided internet provider service.
Yeah.
So this is before you had the Comcast. So remember, Comcast is a creation of downsizing and consolidation. So is AT&T. I mean, you and I grew up when there was Pacific Bell, Illinois Bell, Michigan Bell,
Yep.
Southern Bell, and
Yes.
then Ronald Reagan decided that he was going to allow them to combine. Now, why am I giving you a history of communications? It brings us to where we are today. That's why the Geno Jones show and the Roland Martin show and all these entities that we get our information and quality news and sourcing from, they're allowed to exist. But one reason why we need them to exist is the corporate media sends you the same messages. Fox dominates the news sphere. Why do they dominate the news sphere? Not because they're giving better news, but because when you walk in a truck stop or you go to a hotel and stay, Fox and the cable companies give Fox the free tier package, meaning that they're going to be everywhere. Now, I can remember back when George Bush II was in office, and I was so anti-war and against the Bush administration, I wouldn't spend money at places or stay in hotels that did not offer MSNBC, or at the very least, when I was tolerant of CNN, CNN. We need to go to that same style. And the reason why I'm bringing it up, 'cause see, I'm a professor, I can bring things full circle, and I'm a lawyer and radio DJ, so I know about transitioning. Geno Jones brought up uh, Reverend Bryant's 40-day fast from Target. What that should show you is the power of Black and Latino dollars. I'm including them, and we need to start including them because hopefully finally they understand that their status as claiming whiteness does not protect them from Christian nationalism or white supremacy.
And let's say this,
And
let's throw it in on the Latino. If you are black, if you are my complexion or Sean or the complexion of this coat, this blazer, but you speak Spanish, you black that just speak Spanish.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
Latino, it wasn't even, you didn't see that on the census till the 70s.
no, you're right.
Hispanic and Latino is not a race.
No,
And that
it's
ain't no
not.
shade. That's just do your history. Sean can tell you better than me.
Just like politically correct, instead of calling it black radio, they went to urban
Urban.
radio. What does urban radio means? That means anybody that likes black music. That's
That's
what it
it.
means.
That's it.
That's it.
That's
And
it.
so that's why you get the quote unquote CHR radio stations where they're playing all this black music, but you have non-black individuals, as the spokesperson for that, and that's unfortunate too.
Wait,
But I'm
just we
bringing
gotta
up.
just throw this in just for a laugh to show you how slick they got with the shit. They came with a term called rhythmic CHR. That meant we play black music, but we got white boys, white guys, and white women on the air, basically trying to sound black and be hip.
Right. And if you go to Miami, there are Latin and other non-African Americans doing that same genre. But I bring that all up is what Reverend Bryant, through the Target 40-day fast that has went well beyond 40 days, showed is the power of all those economic dollars and how you can bend people to your will. And so I talked about the Fox earlier and all that. You don't like Fox? When you walk in a business, or a lot of us, because I see on Facebook, we traveling all over the place, and you go in a hotel and they play that when you fill out the card, complain if they don't provide a YouTube app on the TV so you can watch Geno and other people that speak other language. Or if they only offer you Fox and you can't see any other entity. The reason why I bring that up, money At the end of the day, no matter how racist somebody is, you have two economic powers. You technically have three powers. I'm not going to talk about the third because I'm not giving legal advice, so I'll put a paperclip in it. Except, let me warn some people: the Christian nationalists, the racist, white supremacy. 2A don't apply to just you. So put a paperclip in that somewhere. I want y'all to know that. That's for y'all. That's my public service announcement for you. So don't be deceived. But the first one is the economic power. The fact that I don't have to spend my money with you. I've learned as I've gotten older, what I love the most is when I look at my bank account and I see the interest that I collected because that money's been sitting there and I'm just spending money to take care of my bills. But I got money. I love that, especially at the credit union. Ain't nothing like it at the credit union when you see that 5-6% interest on the money you got sitting over there. You don't never touch that money. You look at that account, you think, I could go buy that new car. Nah, I'm gonna take this one to the shop. Because I love looking at that interest. And the second one is the power of your vote. Okay? So let me show you the transition. These folks, these white Christian nationals, these white supremacists, these Trump pansies, the MAGA people, the MAGA light, the MAGA wannabes, have decided that they are not going to hide what they're doing. See, I remember 6, 8, 10 months ago, all I heard Geno Jones talk about was 2025. And I think a lot of y'all thought that was just a game.
Project 2025.
he was just playing around with you. And so I see the FAFOs all the time. In fact, I follow channels on YouTube just to watch the crocodile tears from everybody that didn't believe, that thought the black woman, who is the most qualified presidential candidate we've ever had. Let me repeat, the most qualified presidential candidate we've ever had. That includes Hillary Clinton. That includes Barack Obama. I'm not going to even bring up IQ negative 45, 47, and anybody else you want to compare it to. She was the most qualified. Everybody picked the 34 count felon, the Epstein Island pedophilia, pedophile,
Right.
the multiple wife,
Keep that lawyer. Remember,
yeah,
adjudicated in a civil trial, a judge,
yes,
sexual assaulter.
yeah, and let's not leave out the multiple time adulterer, the criminal indicted and convicted financial crime
Sued for
dude,
housing
the
discrimination way
the
back in the
racist
60s.
the housing discrimination dude, the whatever he had, club foot draft dodger,
Oh
the
yeah,
tax
Bone
cheat,
Spurs.
Captain Bone Spurs, the tax cheat, the mentally narcissistic, self-absorbed current criminal occupying the White House. If you didn't understand that,
Not to mention the
and
Central Park exonerated five. We spent tens of thousands of dollars on billboard to say they should get the
mm-hmm,
death penalty when they were innocent, and never to this
mm-hmm.
day has not apologized to those men.
And so while everybody says all you talk about is Trump, 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 you goddamn right all we gonna talk about is Trump. Because you all, while you're trying to hold DC to this fantastic formula that there's more crime in DC, let me bring up something about DC, Chicago, LA, Detroit. Very large cities, Philadelphia, New York is counted in this. There are hundreds of thousands of people in all these cities. Their crime rate does not compare to Little Rock, Arkansas. You know, Mike Huckabee, who is the ambassador to Israel, who's allowing little brown and black children in Israel to starve and be blown to bits. Yeah, that dude and his daughter, Trump's first second press secretary, Lion Huckabee. She's in charge of that state.
The
Little
governor.
Rock
Yes.
has top 5 crime and murder rate in the country. Oh, let's talk about St. Louis. And listen, let me say this because I know this makes black people uncomfortable because a lot of these areas, the crime is happening in black areas. I'm not blaming you for the crime because there's other externalities that affect that: low education, low job opportunity, bad health results. Some of you live in polluted areas. I totally get that. I'm not blaming you for the crime. My point of bringing up the crime is I live in the suburbs of Chicago. I've been blessed most of my life. Geno and I grew up in 2 different divergent grow up. I grew up in the suburbs. He grew up in Inglewood. I think it's safe to say Geno experienced more exposure to crime than I did
Well,
because I
now,
grew up in the suburbs.
just a point of clarification. When I was a baby, Inglewood was kind of being gentrified in the reverse kind of way because you had barely middle class, maybe work for the city, white people who didn't want to live around black people. But the
Right, and
black
they
people
vacated.
who moved into Inglewood in the 60s or even the 70s, really the mid-late 60s, early 70s, had more money. They had, they were professionals or teachers. Like on my block, I had a principal that lived across the street. I had 2 women. They were sisters who were public school teachers. I had some folks that had worked in the post office. You had an entrepreneur. So you had people who were like working middle class or upper middle class back in the day because they jacked up the value of those homes because they thought they could discourage black people by basically overcharging you. Well, if you want this house, it's gonna be, they charge you way more than it was worth.
What they redlined. So here's the other dynamic that I was bringing up when I said the externalities. Externalities mean things like pollution, opportunity to jobs, good schools, and redlining. See, the reason why CRT and reason why we keep saying that the United States is institutionally racist, that even programs that they created that was supposed to help all Americans be able to get the home, even under FDR. And I'm not saying FDR personally was a racist. I don't believe that because Eleanor Roosevelt didn't act like that. And she worked with Mary McLeod Bethune. A lot of things that we got through HBCUs were through the Roosevelts. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is the fact that once the president creates a program, no matter who the president is, it gets handed to Congress. Congress writes the actual laws for these institutions. Okay. So, and then the Senate approves the head of the agency. If the head of the agency, like Pete Hegseth, is a racist, then they're going to bring racist policies into that institution. And so what makes that institution inherently racist? You got racists running it who are creating policy and rules to run that agency. And so the point is FHA and the housing, and then all of a sudden in the 60s, they create the Department of Urban Housing. Notice the urban term. But by the fact of the matter is that my grandparents and probably your grandparents who worked hard, worked at all these plants, actually black people making good money, could not buy a home on the West Side unless they had a Jewish person come in and do it for them. That's why blacks and Jewish Americans have such a close relationship, because Jewish Americans understood what happened during the Holocaust and saw what was happening to blacks here in America and wanted solidarity with them. So black people are not anti-Semitic. You really can't attach that to us because we're Semitic people too. But I don't want to have that conversation. It's not taken away from the Jews, but when we're talking Semitic people, we all come from the general area that makes you Semitic. Okay? But that's a whole nother story.
Yep. That's
One
another
day
monologue on a different day. But
yeah.
Thank you for that.
But I'm bringing all that up. I'm bringing that all up is that redlining plays a large part into crime. In law school, I wrote a paper that took the map of redlining from 1930 to present day in Chicago. It took the map of the 1995 heat wave that killed almost 300 people. It took the map of high pollution areas in Chicago, and it took the COVID map and it overlaid them. Now, black people already know what I'm gonna say, but for my white folks, come close and listen. Do you know those maps perfectly overlay? What do I mean those maps perfectly overlay if you're not? The statistics from people who were cheated out of their wealth for their property, the people who died from heat wave of 1995, the people who are exposed to the most asthma and the worst environment in Chicago area, and the people who died from COVID, when you overlay the maps from the results, they all look the same. So you mean to tell me that there's not institutional racism because all these systems are laid out by people in government, even though government probably had a good intention for the FHA and for having housing reform, the people that they put in charge of these systems brought their Christian nationalists, their white racism, their bigotry, and all their personal things. So what does that mean? That's what we're seeing right now when you have Kristi Noem in charge of Homeland Security cosplaying and getting Botox and is out there playing soldier. Or you have Pete Hegseth, who's a weak soldier that most soldiers would whoop that ass doing what he does in the Defense Department. Or you have Linda McMahon, who cosplays as a wrestler when most of us that went to high school know wrestling is with the plastic shit on your head and we're gonna get out there and scrub it up, not jumping over things with tables. That's why, let me say this, and my brother's gonna check this out and he's gonna be mad at me. And grandmama, bless your heart, because I know you liked it too. I hated wrestling. I hated Hulk Hogan. I didn't care. I want to see him get his ass whooped every time. I don't care about none of that because that's all game. You know what I'm saying? And so people are so caught. Yeah. And so here's what's happening, because there's a study, if you haven't seen it, where some white woman went undercover dating only right and alt-right men for the last 2 years. It's on CNN. And it comes to find out that most white racist men, I'm talking about men in particular, and white Christian nationalists and white supremacists are mad because won't no woman holler at them. Now think about that.
Incel, which is short for involuntary celibate.
So think about that. They racist. So, because I can't get no coochie,
I'm mad.
I'm mad. And I hate black people. I hate women. I hate LGBTQ. It's all their fault. I can't get no coochie. And not the fact that you're a lame.
Let me throw this in there. And then you see
you Paquito,
some NFL stars. You
got little hands like the president and little feet. That ain't my fault.
Not so much the NBA, but significant number of, not the majority, but still a significant number.
That's why they're mad at the NBA. That the NBA controls their money. I don't necessarily. I'm not because the Bulls suck. I'm not a big NBA fan at the current. But what I respect about the NBA, them brothers control their money, control the rules.
You got some, as I finish the thought here, that they play in the snow, but
it's coons everywhere. It's coon right now. If you go outside your studio, there's probably a coon close to your garbage can. Yeah. Coons are everywhere.
I just want to put that cherry on top of the point you were making. And these incels are mad because they see white women dating these brothers that's athletes, and then they believe the myth. They were like, "Oh my God, I'm an incel. I'm like Donald Trump.
I got little hands and tiny feet.
Yeah, I got the little nub, and these brothers, are these well endowed just animals." So a lot of the bullshit that they created, a lot of the tropes,
right?
The racist tropes and stereotypes.
Hey, look,
the shit, and then
I'm not gonna tell the secret, but I'm gonna say this. The idea that black men are like this was created by white men during slavery
Yes.
to scare white women for wanting to have sex or relations with black men.
But
Now
it
it's funny
backfired.
how
It went in
it
reverse.
backfired. Yeah, it's like it's like, how stupid can you be? We're all human beings. You know what I'm saying? If I had Trump hands, it probably look like this too. But I don't have Trump hands. That's because you bred most of us.
Yes,
And
that's true.
so
That's true.
this is what happens. But not every brother is walking around like that. So thank you, white guys, for that myth. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's
You
a
married
myth. It just
yourself,
really
bro.
is.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
right.
your ancestors with the, like you said, the breeding.
The breeding, that's what has everything to do with it, because you see now with black athletes. Look, let me give you an example. I hate Detroit, but Amon St. Ra has three brothers: Equimus, Amon St. Ra, and Osiris St. Ra. All three play football in the United States in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Their mom was a championship weightlifter, white woman. Their dad was Mr. Universe. All three of them are top flight athletes. When you
They
combine
play in the
that
NFL.
DNA together, they play in the NFL. When you
One for the
combine that
Bears.
DNA,
Is he still with the Bears? One for
no, he's not with the Bears. He's with somebody else. But
okay.
the other one is
One for
for
Detroit.
Detroit,
Detroit
and then
Lions.
another one plays for like Tampa Bay or
Okay.
something like
Yeah.
that. And so I'm bringing that all up to put that out in front of you so that you realize I'm not just making this up. You know what I'm saying? It's funny how eugenics is all of a sudden coming back during the current Nazi occupation of the White House, is that they want to get into the size of brains and all of that stupid stuff. Let me tell white folks a secret. Race is a construct created by white men to be able to create the transatlantic slavery trade. That's why that race is conflated. Let me tell you a secret. 9 out of 10 white people, if they came in a room with Geno and I and did DNA, okay, I or Geno would have more in common with those 9 or 10 white people than Geno and I have in common. So what does that tell you? Race is a social construct because it has nothing to do
With
with
biology.
the makeup of the genome of a human being.
Nothing.
It is an outlier that certain people, black people, being the minority population in this country, but worldwide, people of color
Are the
are
majority.
the dominant, are the majority. That means we all have melanin. That means that being non-melanated on this planet is a recessive gene. It's not normal. But if I said that on CNN, they call me a racist, while at the same time, they'll put a white guy next to me talking about eugenics, saying that the black mind does not function fast enough. Hint, black quarterbacks aren't good. Justin Fields can't be good because he can't process information like Tyson Bagent here in Chicago, the backup quarterback. You know, they use it in different ways. That's why they argue about the DEI. Black people aren't smart enough to be in charge of stuff. Well, that's bullshit.
Well, can I just
Black
let me just
people
throw this in,
can't
Sean?
create their own wealth.
Let me
That's
just
bullshit
let me
too.
just throw this in just to amplify that point. The
Mm-hmm.
same black mind that you say is inferior are the same black minds that created civilizations. That that the Romans, the Greek,
You're going
the
back too
Stoics.
far for them.
Yeah, well, but if we're gonna tell the story, like my grandmother said, if you're gonna
Mhm.
tell it all, or don't tell it, or don't say nothing, because we don't. The pyramids that you see in what y'all call Egypt, which was
Mhm.
Kemet, which is on the continent of
Mhm.
Africa, and Bali,
Mhm.
and Mansa Musa, who had so much, and it just speaks to the wealth, the resources, the gold, who was the wealthiest man in the history of humanity. Do your chat GPT, Mansa Musa. He single-handedly, as Professor Mitchell will tell you, he crashed the world gold market because he went around giving away so much gold.
Mhm. You're exactly right.
And not to
And
mention vaccines. Your concept of
yeah,
vaccines originated on the continent of
yeah,
Africa.
yeah, you're exactly
We
right.
could go
And
on and on,
people,
Sean. We could go on
yeah,
all day.
yeah, we could do this all day. But to keep it currently what we're experiencing is accept it. You were warned about Project 2025. You were warned about Stephen Miller. You were warned about the type of people that this person would pick. You were warned about Republicans' complicity with everything, whether it's Byron Donalds or Swami Urami or whatever his name is, or MTG. It didn't matter. You were warned. So here we are. What do we do next? Um, the main thing is to make sure you're prepared to vote here in the midterms. The other thing, I put a paperclip in that 2A thing. So if you're legal, go make sure you do what you need to do to be prepared for the unfortunate situation of, do you need to protect yourself and family? You should be collecting water and canned goods on the side. These are standard things if you live in a hurricane zone. But if you don't, you need to be doing that no matter where you live. Um, we don't have any idea of what is going to happen, but I tend to go off past actions. This person that's in charge of the White House right now will do anything to hold power. We saw what he did on J6. We saw what he did when he got elected with the people in J6. So he's also added Kool-Aid to their barrels to think that they can do whatever they want to do. I advise you to stay legal, safe, protect yourself, try to educate as many people as you can, and make sure you vote. Uh, and be aware and spend your money with people who are invested in you and people that look like you, not people that invest in people that want to get rid of you or want to relegate you to the quote unquote black or Latin jobs, or don't think that black people are capable of being in charge if they are their DEI hires. That's disrespectful to you, your offspring, your family, and everybody in that. And let me also add, while he's threatening to send the National Guard around, he's capable of doing that in DC because it's a federal district. In the states, uh, governors can fight that right now in the state of California because of what he did a few months ago, sending the National Guard to and the Marines to LA. There's a court case. What I'm hoping in Chicago and in Illinois, we fight back. I looked up something because this is funny. Why you say I need to run from office, let me say this,
He
and then I'll
does.
tell
He
you.
does.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. My first thought on two levels when you talk about, like, let me start with the top one. If I was president, Russia would be a smoking crater. Uh, that's just me. Because I wouldn't tolerate it. And if I was governor of the state of Illinois and he sent the National Guard, I would have my guard activated and tell them with guns drawn to lead the state of Illinois. Now, I looked that up before I came on the show and found out that's illegal too.
Okay.
so, but I'm just saying this is why I wouldn't run for office, because that would be my response. Because my problem with what's going on in DC is twofold. While the president has the power to control the federal district with National Guard. One, he has red states sending National Guards. And
Yes.
if Arkansas send anybody or Ohio sends anybody, I have a question for the Ohio governor. Why aren't you sending them people to Cleveland? They got a high crime rate. Or why aren't you sending them to Toledo? Or why aren't you sending them after Ohio State game out in Columbus? You don't. And so you need to deal with your own state. So that's why I'm saying, me as governor, that if Ohio sent their National Guard to my state at the border at 80 and all points where you come into the state, I would have my National Guard lined up and dare any military force to enter my state. I'm hoping that Pritzker takes that thing, but I think that would escalate between the states and the federal government. possibly sending us into Civil War Part Two, because that's very similar to what
like a
the South
and
did.
and just for accuracy's sake, because you did state that ac-
It's illegal.
according to the Constitution, that would be illegal.
Yes, it would be illegal.
But that's where, but two things. One, and it's been pretty clear, Governor Pritzker, you look at what Governor Gavin Newsom did in California and
Hmm.
what Governor Westmore will do. But Gavin Newsom, he he basically he gave you the blueprint that we're
Hmm.
gonna tie this thing up in court.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's fine until it gets to the Supreme Court. Prior to this Supreme Court, I would have said the Supreme Court would side with the states. And normally, conservative Supreme Courts do side with the states' rights.
Yes.
This current Supreme Court, I can't gauge them because all the precedent, each time they just walk over it or ignore it.
Yeah, you can't trust John
Um,
Roberts, and I don't know if I can trust Amy Comey Barrett on this
I
one.
think actually you got a better choice with those two than you do the other ones. Because I
Well, you
know you
needed
can't
those two.
touch
You just need
Clarence.
two. You got three that's
Yeah,
gonna vote for
yeah,
democracy,
yeah.
humanity. So you only need
Hmm.
two defectors.
Yeah,
And
and
I
so
don't know
those
how
are the
much
two
this
best.
John Roberts. You could speak to this. With your legal
Shelby
background.
Holder. Shelby Holder ripping into the Voters' Rights Act, how he did
Yeah.
that. That's right there. But here's the other
But how much
dynamic that we.
chaos do you think he's going to sit back if he sees this thing really like crashing and burning?
I
How
don't.
much
At
more would
this
he
point,
enable? Because
at,
this is his legacy now.
yeah,
You
but
don't
at
think
this
he
point,
cares?
I don't think he cares. And so at this point, the goal needs to be to not only put those rights, everything from abortion to the destruction of the voters' rights, by having an overwhelming majority in Congress on both houses in 2028, so that you
We'll start
a neuter
2026.
you
We need because
yeah
we
yeah.
this. I mean, if he
But you need to neuter him. And how do you neuter him? Two ways. You start building super majorities on the Democratic side for
in the
2028.
states, I see. Yeah,
In
in the individual
in
states.
not only in the states, but in the Senate, you need like 65 Democrats. In the House, you need something like 240 Democrats. Why do I bring that up? You elect the president, and then you hold over him saying, listen, since you love to legislate from the bench, I'm going to add two more
On the
justices.
Supreme Court.
And
Expand the court.
I'm going to expand the court. And what I'm going to do, because they can do this, is change the court to a rotating top nine
Oh, I
justices,
like that.
meaning the older justices drop off like they do in states to advisory things.
Oh,
They're not
really?
even involved in the judgment.
Oh,
Oh
I never
yeah,
heard
it
that.
can
Is
be
it like that
done.
in
It can be
Illinois?
done.
I didn't know that. But some states
In
it
some
is.
lower court, in some lower courts in Illinois, it is
Wow.
like that.
Okay.
That mostly happens at the federal court level.
Okay.
So at the federal court level, what'll happen is you'll have a judge that's like 85 years old, and then the president will nominate another judge to step into their role. But that judge becomes like a retired judge that sits
Honorary.
back.
Yeah, some kind of
Yeah,
honorary.
and he's there observing. That's what you need to do with the Supreme Court. Their term shouldn't be any more than like 18 to 21 years. It needs to be like one of those odd off numbers. And then once they leave their term, they become like,
Well,
a retired
let
judge.
me ask you. In term limits, is that something that is that Congress? Who has the ultimate power to set term limits?
Congress has the power over the Supreme Court. The only thing Congress cannot do to the Supreme Court is expand or limit their jurisdiction. So whatever the Constitution says their jurisdiction is, that's who the Supreme Court is over.
So, but
But
Congress could and would have to expand the court Because the president can't sign an executive order. He's got to go through Congress,
The
correct?
president, yeah, he has to go through Congress, but he can, say, "Hey, I want to add to the court." The Congress has to pass a law to add to the court. The other thing that Congress also gets to do is they can add, another federal circuit. They can add another court in the federal structure. They just can't change the Supreme Court's jurisdiction
Got
and
you.
all that.
Yeah.
The germ. It's what people don't understand is the Supreme Court has very limited jurisdiction. Um, that's why what Trump is doing beyond DC is so illegal. The federal government does not have a police force. So he's using ICE as that police force. That's what ICE isn't. The National Guard is not his police force. The federal marshals are not his police force. The the executive branch has no policing powers. Even with him threatening states that are quote unquote sanctuary states by saying if you don't do this, we'll take your federal funding, is against the law too because it's called commandeering. The federal government cannot make states enforce or police, their federal, like how they're saying, collect undocumented immigrants in your state. That's a policing action. The federal government can't make the states do
Engage in
that,
it.
and then they can't come back and say we'll take your money if you don't. That's totally illegal. No, I haven't heard any cases making it that far with that problem so far, but I'm sure we're going to come up on that if he attempts to do what he plans to do by sending, National Guard to Chicago and saying that if they don't do this, he's going to take their federal funding in all these states. That's totally against the law. See, Trump is a chaos agent. He wants to throw as much shit against the wall and see what sticks. And the media, and I'm talking not, independent media like yourself or non-corporate media. Corporate media still refuses to change their tactics at how they cover him.
And let's
So
tell them
they
why,
cover.
Sean. This is important. Let's just cut through the bullshit. Why does corporate media do that? They do it for the same reason that the former president of CBS said, oh, after the 2016 election, he had to step down because he was involved. It was a sexual harassment lawsuit. Les Moonves, you can Google it, who basically was interviewed one of the major newspapers, and they asked and said, well, do you think all the free airtime that they gave Orange Hitler the first time when he won in 2016, and they said, well, do you think it was good for democracy? And he kind of joked, you all can chat GPT, Google his quote, paraphrasing. He said, well, it was probably bad for the country, bad for democracy, but it was great for business.
Yeah, and most of the decisions are made that's for business. Just think, when did you think the federal government would undermine its own currency with even having a discussion about cryptocurrency? So I'm going to trade my dollars that are backed by the government of the United States for flim flams and woozle comes because some bros are sitting at home at a computer that get to determine the value of it. You are setting yourself up for financial calamity. While the rich people, as you've seen with the tariffs, they move their money around, make money when Trump makes up a tariff. And then when he backs down because he's a taco, Trump always chickens out. He changes up. And they're making money off that. The system, which I have mixed feelings on this. I'm not, so don't email me talking about, oh, you're giving the MAGA people a pass. What I'm going to say is the MAGA people are probably feeling the same way we feel about the system. It's corrupt. It's rich people and elites that are making all the money and they're robbing the treasury blind. The difference between me and you and the MAGA people is racism isn't our fuel. We're far more informed and we're not in concert or support of the people that's doing it.
Right.
Now they'll say, "Well, you support Democrats." Well, let me say this: yes, 80% of the time I vote for Democrats. But let me say this. If Trump was a Democrat, there's no way I'd vote for
No,
him.
no,
He's
right. We wouldn't
corrupt.
mess with him.
There's a lot of Democrats I haven't voted for that were corrupt or were incompetent or were terrible. I know some of y'all not going to agree with this, but I didn't vote for Bill Clinton neither time. Because I didn't like Bill Clinton because I thought he was exactly what he is, a slime bucket.
And yes,
He was
let's
a
say this.
decent president, but he was a slime bucket.
Yes, and let's say this. And yes, all the racists and the white nationalists were Democrats before Lyndon Baines
1968,
Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act and the
1964,
Voting Rights
right.
Act. So before
Then they
64,
became
65, yes,
right.
the Dixiecrats, the Southern Democrats were racist. Yes. So now they
Yeah,
became
but they've
Republicans.
always the two-party system in this country has always done that. They've moved in between. There's places you can go in the country and Democrats are much more conservative than they are in, say, a place like Illinois. South Carolina is the perfect place. There are a lot of what they call yellow dog Democrats, especially in that northern part of the state, that will vote for a Democrat at the end of the day, but they are diehard conservative people. They support Democrats because of the union labor thing. They don't necessarily agree, nor do they really disagree with the civil rights and all that, but they're with the Democrats because they protect unions,
Yes.
or because the Democrats, there's a particular standard that the Democrats have that they want.
Or
Similar
protest and
to
tell them about
Republicans,
Kentucky, because Kentucky has a Democratic governor, Andy
the
Beshear.
governor. Yeah, but and which is he's more like a Republican light. And see, that's what makes my fear with Democrats. They've done this in a cycle since Jimmy Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just being a strong, firm Democrat, they kind of straddle. This is why I didn't like Clinton. They play this new Democratic game. I'm just as corporate and willing to work across the aisle as everybody else is on the Republican side. Or I can be like the Republicans. See, I'm hard on crime. Or
Mm-hmm.
see, I believe in giving tax cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in cutting
Social
program
programs.
assistance from people because I'm just like them. See, I can't walk on that. Let me say this. President Barack Obama is probably the most conservative president I've ever voted for. Him and Kamala Harris and John Kerry. I'm and I guess I could throw Biden in there. Actually, Biden is left of both of them,
He
in
turned
my
out to be,
opinion.
in terms of
Yeah,
the
I didn't expect
legislation that
that.
he passed, signed off
Yeah,
on.
yeah, I didn't expect that. I think that's why a lot of the Republicans got so much animosity and hate, and some Democrats towards Joe Biden, because Joe Biden turned out to be left of Barack Obama and Kamala Harris. Um,
Well,
but the
shoot,
left
he
right
appointed her as his
dynamic,
VP though.
yeah, the right left dynamic doesn't really work anymore. I actually think we need to go class. We need to talk more about
Yes.
class, because there are a lot of conservatives who are struggling financially, but they're so caught up in that conservative dogma that they can't step out of it. And I think if you frame conversations in class, you would and look, this doesn't change my opinion about race or what I say about race, but I think if you talk class instead of left, right, or race, you would probably coalesce about 65% of the population under one banner, because you would be speaking more direct to what concerns them. What are they concerned about? How am I going to pay all these bills? How am I going to send my kids to school and to college? How am I going to buy grocery from my home? How am I going to save my nest egg for retirement? What does retirement look like? Can I buy a home? Can I buy another car? That's where most people are. And that's about 60, 70% of the
Right.
country.
But let
And
me
so
say
if you
this.
talked about things in that manner, I'm not saying exclude
No, no,
race
no, no.
and cultural issues. I'm saying start with that framing and then work your way down
So,
to the other
to
stuff.
your point, more and more people are actually doing that. A lot on independent media. You
Mm-hmm.
still got folks like Lawrence O'Donnell, who I absolutely, man, I love what he does on his show because
Mm-hmm. He's all excellent.
he gives 0 Fs.
Yes, yes, yes,
he
yes. And he keeps
gives
up the fight.
he
He keeps up
gives
the fight.
0 ucks. Minus,
And that's
and
and
y'all
then
know what I'm saying. He doesn't, and I will give I'll give Rachel Maddow.
right, Rachel.
She's got a
Rachel
great
is good.
team. So
Yeah.
she can dig up some stuff. But Lawrence
But
O'Donnell,
I can find more. But here's the truth. Truth be told, the difference between now and 10 years ago, I can find more independent broadcasters that I can relate to from YouTube and
oh
podcasts.
yeah,
I can talk
absolutely.
about Midas Touch. I can talk about Brian Taylor. I can talk about what's the brother's name? I laugh at him all the time. He's a black brother. He is hilarious. What is his name? I'm so sorry. I feel
That's okay.
bad.
But let me just
He
finish
he
my
does the
thought.
racist of the week
Okay,
all the time.
let me finish this thought. Here's the point, because you see more and more. I see more and more people talking about it. It's bleeding through a little bit, even on CNN with some of the I want to say commentators. It's almost become like this debate show. It's almost like point counterpoint. But the point I'm trying to make is
It's like Fight Club for
yes,
debates.
that's even better. I love that. But here's the issue, and Owen Hitler knows it. Why do you see the National Guard in D.C.? Why did you see the National Guard and the Marines in Los Angeles until that the courts made them get? It's like, look, y'all ain't got to go home, but you got to get your ass up out of here. Why is the talk of sending, outside of the racism, sending the National Guard and the military to Chicago and Baltimore and Oakland and New York City, all these cities that have black mayors? It is a distraction because the price of coffee has gone up from $5 to $8 or $6 to $8, and the prices of things like avocado have skyrocketed, and just everything that you bought in the store a year ago is 30 to 50% more than it was a year ago today. And if you go grocery shopping, even if you got one of them MAGA red hats, you know it. So you don't even have to
Right.
chat GPT that. When you get in the line, wait a minute, hold on. This big party size bag of chips used to be like $5.50. It's $7.29. What the and the bag?
Oh yeah.
And the bag is smaller for the party size.
Yeah.
So
Right. That's crazy that a party size of Doritos is $7. Like, what happened?
And by the way, release the Epstein files. It's a distraction. He's
Yes.
got to
Really,
distract.
yeah.
He said he's going
Yeah.
to reduce prices on day one. That didn't have, the
Nope.
prices have only gone up. These
Stop the
tariffs,
war in Ukraine in 24 hours.
yep, that,
Didn't happen.
people are still being murdered. Babies are still being murdered and starved in Gaza. All right, so he hadn't ended any war at all. And
Spending our money every day going to play golf.
right, all of that. So everything that all these promises.
Doge was gonna cut $1 trillion out of the budget. Didn't happen.
Right, and that piece of legislation, that bullshit bill that's going to kick 17 million people off some type of health care, from Medicaid to Obamacare, children losing free breakfast, free lunches. You got grandparents that's going to be kicked out of nursing homes. Children, 40% of the children in America get some form of health insurance through Medicaid. So when your grandparent gets kicked out of the nursing home, or they lose their Medicaid or Medicare, and then they can't get chemo treatment or the dialysis or the cholesterol medicine or heart medicine, they need the nitroglycerin pill, or your child or grandchild that's got asthma, he or she can't get treatment, or they got epilepsy and they can't afford medicine, and then people are going to start dying in these poor and working, these rural and not so rural, poor white communities, because you got poor white folks that's either living near cities or right on the edge. All right? This is not just going to hit black folks. It's going to actually hit white people more than black people. The majority of people that's on SNAP is going to lose SNAP benefits. Somewhere around mid-40s, 44, last number,
Mm-hmm.
44% are white Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Black folks only make up in the mid-20s. Hispanics make up
Mm-hmm.
18, close to 20. The majority, the majority of white people are single white women who get SNAP benefits. And I found out from Representative Ro Khanna, who's a U.S. representative, his district is Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley. That's got all Apple, let's see, X, Twitter, all these high-tech companies. It's like the wealthiest district in America, and that's his district. And he talked about that 40, and I didn't know if you know this, Sean. I'm glad I remembered it real quick, and we can wrap it up. 47% of veterans, and I had to ask him and call his staff because I heard him say it on MSNBC. He was on with Lawrence O'Donnell. 47% of veterans receive SNAP benefits.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what? 47%. So I'm just sharing those numbers because what that means is there are going to be millions of poor and working class white people that's about to find out. They effed around, it's going to hit them too. Because when they see their grandparents, the mother and their kids dying or themselves, as they see their health decline and they can't get health insurance and they watch themselves literally look in the mirror and watch themselves die, it's going to hit different, Sean. It's going to hit different.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I really appreciate us having this discussion today. I'm glad to be back on the show, checking out the people all over the country. It's awesome. Shout out to the people down in the low country. I miss y'all. I'm glad Hurricane Aaron didn't come ashore or cause much damage. Every time I see hurricane season, especially during this day and age with who's in charge of FEMA and all that,
Yes.
I'm really concerned about my people along the coast, whether it's in South Carolina, Florida, Louisiana, or Texas. And I can't forget about Mississippi, Alabama. I'm not excluding you all, and North Carolina as well. But I'm always concerned now. We have to be a little bit more proactive and kind of care for everybody. I often think about good night and good luck, everybody. That's what I think,
Good night
because
and
that's
good
what it
luck.
feels good. That's what it feels like. And so, all I can say, everybody, be ready, stay safe, prepare. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Don't spend all your acorns at one tree. You need to stack and do what you can, and just to go back to what it's that radio synergy and bring it back. If Pastor Bryant can bring Target to its knees, that should be an inspiration to all of us. You don't like what you're seeing, find out the corporations and the money behind the people that are doing what they're doing to us. And when I say us, I'm not just talking about black people. I'm talking about all good people in the States, because I don't want white folks. If anything, I've learned over these, I'm not gonna say how many years, but half century of life, is that everybody of color ain't your kind, and everybody white ain't your enemy. And so
All skin folk ain't kinfolk.
you're right. And so I'm saying that all people that are good people, we don't have to agree 100%, but if we agree that the current occupant of the White House is not good for the country, I'm sure we can come together on some ways to make sure that he loses power in 2026 and is held account. And in 2028, we exact our retribution by voting out anybody and not voting for anyone that has support this. And then we sit down as a country in 2029 on January 21st at noon 2029, and we start rebuilding and restructuring our country into a more equitable situation for everybody. That includes, as I alluded to earlier, our single lost white men who are caught up in racism. We can rebuild you. We can change your heart. You just need a little education and come on over to the fold. It's a lot of fun over here. We having a lot of fun over here, even though we struggling a little bit with what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Sean got a little more patience than me because listen. Some of y'all
I might run for president one day. I can't just be out here
you
just
got it right.
talking.
See, I'm
I
not running.
gotta talk.
So it's like some of you all, as my grandmother said, don't believe fat meat is greasy. So you go just
Yeah.
find out on your own. Now I can give
Everybody that know me knows I'm not soft. I just tend to try as I've gotten older, and especially as a person that practiced law. I'll tell you a quick side note. A couple of weeks ago, I wound up taking a client that I normally don't want to have nothing to do with you. He was actually a MAGA person, but what I can say is when I came away from that situation and they actually were shocked that they won, uh, every time they come in to the office to make a payment, they want to talk to me and tell me how much I've opened their eyes up into how wrong they are. And they made the mistake of last week when they were making a payment in the office to say, "Hey, where do you get your information from?" Why you asking me that? And so that's why I've kind of everybody asks why you don't post on Facebook and you're not doing a lot of social media. Right now I'm just kind of sitting back. I think that a lot of us that have been deep off in the social justice fight and all these different fights politically and all those different things. Right now I'm just trying to observe. I think the biggest thing that I've dedicated my life to, at least for the last 3, 4 years, is educating young people, whether it's helping young people that want to be social advocates, whether they want to be lawyers or social workers, or working with students through the university I work at, or working with different nonprofits. I think that as we get older, like I said, a half century now, old or plus, we got to build and invest in the future. I'm not shaming the civil rights generation because I think they did an awesome job. I love everything. I got most of my history and education from them, but I think they did a it's okay to critique them because I think they did a bad job as handing power over to the next group. And I think that created a void, or it created this idea that we could keep acting like it was the late 60s when, whoa, we're in 2008. Whoa, now we're in 2021. That means we have to change tactics, approach. We have to educate young people. We have to embrace young people. People point to young people as being the problem with crime and all these different things. Those young people learned what they learned from us.
True. That's
And so
true.
we need to take some responsibility to that. And what we need to do is invest in getting the young people on track, and young people that are ready to take power and take control. We need to support that because
Absolutely.
I think we this election that just passed should have shown us it's the end of the old heads in charge.
Oh yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
not working. And so we need to move on to young, energetic, inclusive leadership. And when I say inclusive, doesn't mean underqualified. It means that everybody has a right to sit at the table, and the people who are qualified have a right to leadership.
Well,
And we need to make that available for
just
them.
real quick to your point, if you think about the civil rights leaders, 50s to 60s, John Lewis was in his early 20s. Dr.
Yeah,
King was he Dr. King wasn't even 40 when he was assassinated. Malcolm X
yeah,
wasn't even 40 when he was assassinated.
yeah,
The
yeah,
majority of the people who were involved in the civil rights movement, they were young people, because
yeah.
the majority of Black Americans uh, didn't approve of what Dr. King was doing. That's a whole nother
Hmm.
show. A whole
Yeah,
nother
yeah.
show. So if
I think the other thing we need to always keep in mind is that young people are always the part of our social movements throughout history. And so, me sitting here as a 50 something plus man, yeah, I can still participate in the movement and I can still, consult and help leadership. But now is the time for the Jasmine Crockett's, the AOCs, the Brandon Marsh, Brandon Johnsons, the Westmorelands, to be allowed, and the Cory Bookers, to be allowed to step into leadership. And I know that's just a small group. I'm just
yeah.
using them as examples,
Mhm.
but it's time for the Schumers and the Pelosi's, and even brother Clyburn. I love you, and I think he would agree with this. It's time to step back. I'm not saying give up your congressional seats, although it would be great if you have somebody ready to step into that. But allow the young people to take over so we don't have that void. The last thing I'm going to say is I think one of the biggest mistakes during the Obama administration, this is no disrespect to Ginsburg. I think she's one of the smartest jurists we've ever had. But during that first term, it was time for her to retire. I'm looking at Sonia Sotomayor in 2029, praying for her protection. But it's time to get a young person into that seat if we get a Democratic president. We have to be better at planning ahead and being on the offensive as the other side.
Right.
I think for so long we're constantly playing defense and it's this scatter shot. And I know right now there's no real leader in the Democratic Party because we're out of power, but there are leaders in the Democratic Party. And so they need to get the messaging together. They need to be out here in these streets. They need to be doing town halls. They need to be doing polls. They need to be on your show. They need to be everywhere,
Yes.
even on Fox, talking about what's going on. Not so much Trump is bad because we all know he's bad, but what they're going to do if they get power.
And
And
I
that's
will
my
just,
last word.
yeah, and I'm just going to add, and I've said this before, you have public officials, and their role
Hmm.
is to be a public servant. But I've said this on this show multiple times, is that the politicians, they are not the leaders. The people are the
Lead.
leaders. So we got to put the
Hmm.
pressure on them. We put them in office. If you don't like the way they're doing things, just like you put them in office, you can put them out of office. I've said this on this
Yep.
show. There's only one thing about this whole MAGA cult movement that I find instructive. All right, because you were just talking about, what happened with the Pastor Bryant, Jamal Bryant, and the Target boycott. That's the blueprint. And if there's nothing else, what's instructive in terms of the MAGA blueprint, there is no more Republican Party. They took it over. So you can take over the Democratic Party because this is the system. It's like if you play in the NBA, there's certain rules, all right? And if you're not in a position to change the rules, you're going to have to master the rules as they are. So, and I'm all for, a third party or multiple parties, but that is not going to fix 2026.
Not at all.
We got to, okay, I'm in the game now, coach. I don't like the rules. Before you could only take one step and it was traveling. But now in the NBA, shit, they call it a Euro step. You can take 2 or 3 steps without dribbling the ball. So,
Man, if they had them rules when I was playing basketball, I'd have been the next Iverson.
but me and you both would have been in the NBA. See, you could take barely one step, and it's like, traveling. So the point I'm trying to make is that, all right, listen, the rules of the game. It's simple. If show up, take over the party. Get your friends, somebody that, politically astute, political science major. They don't have to be a lawyer or political science major. Somebody just got a passion for the people and surround them. Instead of spending your money on the Jordans and the LeBrons, support them. But maybe you don't have to go to the NBA All-Star game or to the Super Bowl. Or, just cut back on Magic City. Maybe you ain't got to spend so much money at Magic City every weekend. Maybe so just
Right.
understand our money has power. And I will close where I began this show. The way to get the attention of people with money and power, even the most racist, bigoted, apartheid-minded, white nationalists, white supremacists, racist, neo-Nazi-minded fascists, sexist, misogynist. The way to get anybody's attention with money and power is to dig in their pockets. And if you dig in those pockets deep enough, I promise you, you will get their attention. Just reach out to the former CEO of Target and ask him. Sean Mitchell, I love you, brother. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I know you're busy. We're keeping an eye on what's happening in Chicago. We had a lot going on. So, but
If I don't get arrested when they send the National Guard, I'll
yes,
join the show that
I'll
night.
send up that bat signal because see, Sean is the kind of brother that'll be passing out copies of the Constitution to the brothers that he see in the National Guard. Yo, man, I know you don't want to be out here. This is your commander in chief with that bullshit. I know you can't say
Right.
nothing. Here's a copy of this Constitution.
And it's funny you bring that up because I'm a board member at American Constitutional Society. I got a box full of constitutions, pocket constitutions. I got about 500 of them. And so when the National Guard show up, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna hit the streets with those constitutions, passing them out to the National Guard and the citizens that are complaining. So that's a great idea. Thank you. I'm gonna credit you with that idea. And if I get arrested, please Cash App me.
All right. Well, listen, you got the legal. If anybody gets arrested, you are uniquely qualified to handle that situation.
That don't mean they gonna make me sit. They gonna make me sit there. It don't matter when you get called in contempt. Being a lawyer don't mean anything.
Right.
They make you wait until the end of the night to leave.
But see, I know, but and I don't want this to happen to you, but that would really, you would be the wrong person or the right person for the right reasons.
Yeah, it depends on how you look. But see, I'm not cool with one, being locked up with a bunch of men, and two, not being able to go to the bathroom without audience. So that eliminates me. That's why jail ain't never been my thing. Thank you so much,
right,
brother.
brother.
Family. Send my love to the family.
Okay, all right. Yeah, my mother, she said thank you. She saw you shouting her out. So, all right, man. We'll talk soon. Thank you. All right, that is my man, brilliant brother Sean Mitchell. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. Thanks for everybody sticking around. Got a lot. Hey, Rosalind, I see you. She said, Rosalind said, be about it. Yes, be about it. Shout out to Jeremy Briggs. Aloha, Jeremy. Must be out there in Hawaii. Everybody else, thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you, and especially you, God, most of all. Thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show, brought to you by CojoLLC.com. CojoLLC.com. Courtney Johnson. You'll see her Thursday. Courtney's Corner. She's a real estate expert. She is a commercial insurance expert. If you need to buy a home, sell a home, advice on what you need to do so you can buy or sell a home, or if your business needs insurance. Courtney Johnson, CojoLLC.com. CojoLLC.com. Please subscribe to the show. 90 new subscribers. Just give me 100, give me 1,000. But I am 90 new subscribers away from becoming a YouTube partner. That means YouTube will monetize my channel and my media company. So that means YouTube will be basically sending, I don't know if they do a check, I don't know if they Zelle or direct deposit, whatever it is. But they will be monetizing this channel once we hit 1,000 new subscribers. So we are only 90 away. Tell everybody to subscribe to the channel. Please leave your comments. Everybody leave your comments in my comment section. The show is interactive. I want to thank everybody for participating in my live chat, but please leave your comments in the comment section. That's important. YouTube, they look at that and tell everybody to subscribe and share the show. You can tag your friends and followers. You can share it on all their social media pages and leave your comments in the comment section. You can screenshot, just pull some of the clips, a little short video and make it go viral and put it up on your platform. Thank you again. I will see you Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Oh, no, correction. It's no live show Tuesday. The best of the Geno Jones Show. No live show. There's going to be a grand opening. As a matter of fact, Butch Kennedy and Lisa Kennedy, part of the Geno Jones Show family, huge advocates against domestic violence. They are opening up a facility for women who are fleeing for their safety and the safety of their families. So it's going to be a shelter for battered women and their families, their children, and they are officially opening up. So I've been honored to be invited to this event. It's not a public event for obvious reasons. Your battered women's shelters, those addresses are never made public for obvious reasons, because it is to be a safe place and a safe haven for women who have been victims of domestic violence and their families. But I'm honored to be invited. So the next live edition of the Geno Jones Show is going to be Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 4:30 p.m. on the West Coast. Thank you for watching, everybody. Once again, tell everybody to subscribe to the channel. Please don't forget to leave your comments below in the comment section. Share this episode. Tag this episode on all those that follow you on social media. And you can pull some of the video from the show, pull some clips, and you can make them go viral. You have my blessing. We'll see you Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.